Hi everyone, welcome to our Oracle Goldengate Data training. My name is Ashish Agarwal, and I'll be delivering this lecture to you. So before commencing the session, just a quick round of update regarding my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Ashish Agarwal _GG. So if you haven't visited the channel, I would request you to do visit the channel and do like, share, and subscribe the channel. The channel is dedicated to Oracle Goldengate related videos. Thank you. So in today's session, we are going to discuss. First of all, I welcome you all to this training of learning Oracle Goldengate Classic Architecture. So before I proceed, just a quick introduction about me. So I'm expert in Oracle Goldengate and Oracle database technologies. I have 17 plus years of training experience in Goldengate. In fact, I have completed, I'm about to complete 18 years now with the training experience. I have various high rated courses available in Goldengate like Goldengate Classic Architecture, Goldengate Microservices, and Oracle Goldengate Data as well. I have trained more than 8,400 plus trainees and taken 280 plus corporate batches so far. And the feedback which I have received has been very good. So you can check my YouTube or LinkedIn profile as well for the feedbacks and other details. I'm an Oracle certified professional and Oracle Golden Gate certified as well. I'm blogger and speaker on Oracle Golden Gate related stuff. I have presented my paper in a lot of Oracle webinars and different university groups as well. So for any question, queries, these are my contact details. You can email me at ashishagarwalag@gmail.com. You can tweet your queries as well at ashishagarwalag with hashtag AskAshish. Or you can also reach out to me by my over my YouTube channel as well, which I showed you, youtube.com/Ashish Agarwal _GG. So the session agenda, complete training agenda, I have mentioned here. So it is not only like these are few topics which I have listed, but apart from that, we cover a lot more. So we cover introduction to Oracle Golden Gate, architecture of Oracle Golden Gate. So guys, before you are starting, let me tell you one thing. Golden Gate is one of the easiest technology in this world. And I'm not saying, of course, don't think that because I know Golden Gate, that's why I'm telling you. In fact, I know Oracle database as well, or Oracle RAC, or any other Oracle technology. I never say that those products are. The reason is those products are very vast. Golden Gate, when you learn, when you understand, when you attend for next 7 weeks, you will understand what I'm saying. Golden Gate architecture is pretty easy. Like it is one architecture, and you will understand that in today's session as well. So Golden Gate is one of the most easiest product, but yeah, each product when you have or when you have to learn, it requires practice. So the agenda of this training should be when you are attending, you should be learning or you should be implementing whatever we are doing practically. And once you do it practically, once you implement it practically, I assure you, you will have no issues, no questions, and you will be having very good learning as well. So Golden Gate just requires practice. So during the session, when I'll be doing this training, when I'll be showing you the stuff or when I'll be telling you, when I'll be guiding you, you will get complete knowledge. But the real game starts when you implement it. Because see, that's where the real question come. So this is what I want you to do. Make best use of this training program and pave your path towards becoming Golden Gate expert. Okay. So we will be starting with introduction to Oracle Golden Gate. Then we'll be discussing architecture. So architecture is of Golden Gate is pretty easy. It's not that vast like when we discuss about Oracle database. So this Golden Gate architecture is pretty easy and straightforward. Then we'll be discussing about this training we are going to do on 21C. So let me tell you 21. So many people have this question that if we are working on Golden Gate 12C and if we are learning 21C, will we be able to support? So let me tell you, Golden Gate. So basically, there are multiple versions of Oracle Golden Gate. Okay. Now, there is 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, 18C, 19C, or 21C as well. 21C, and Oracle has also launched 23 AI few days back, though it is not industry, like industries are not using it. Major version which is being used right now is 19C or 21C Golden Gate. So once 23 AI becomes, like, it is still, it's not, by Oracle, it's not called as beta phase, but I would call it as like a still into the trial phase. So once it becomes industry standard, so you will see that the course will be upgraded to 23 AI as well. So this training we are doing on 21C. So basically 19C is extension of 12.3. So there was a lot of change in Golden Gate from 12.1 to 12.2. From 12.2 to 12.3, yes, there were a lot of change. Then from 12.3 to 19C, in fact, in between 18C also came. Just like database, it didn't become popular or not, it wasn't that much used. Then Oracle launched 19C. So 19C is extension of 12.3. So whatever is there in 12.3, it's there in 19C with some new features. Same way, whatever is there in 21C is there in 19C with some new features. So I cover all of those things during the training. Okay, so all of these things are covered live during this training. They, in fact, what is the difference between 21C and 19C? We'll be covering that as well. In fact, like the installation of Golden Gate, it is different. What is the difference between the two? We do discuss. Okay. Then we discuss Oracle Golden Gate upgradation, installation of Oracle Golden Gate, different concepts and components involved in Oracle Golden Gate, how to perform DML replication like insert, update, delete. So we'll be discussing about that. Then how to perform initial load in Oracle Golden Gate environment. So initial load means when you're loading the data initially. So either you do so at the database level, you have export import, you have ARM and backup restore. Apart from that, you also have the concept called as initial load in Golden Gate. So initial load is the method of loading the data initially, and you can perform that as well using Oracle Golden Gate. So what export import can do, initial load can also do. But what is the difference between Golden Gate initial load and database export import or ARM and backup restore? We'll be discussing during the session when we discuss about initial load. Then Golden Gate also supports data filtration and transformation. So data filtration and transformation means, like, you can filter out the transactions as per a requirement, and you can also transform the data. So Golden Gate supports data filtration as well as data transformation. Then we discuss about bidirectional Golden Gate configuration. So Golden Gate not only supports unidirectional replication, it also supports bidirectional. Bidirectional means both the sides would be live. So Golden Gate supports that. So we introduce all the new and latest features which has been introduced in the Golden Gate, like performance matrix server, bidirectional auto CDR, Golden Gate automatic heartbeat table, all the new features and the common practices, best practice. During the training, let me tell you, I discuss about the how to implement the best practice in Oracle Golden Gate environment. So you have, like, say for example, you are working in Oracle Golden Gate environment. What are the best practices you should be following? We discussed during the training. Then DDL replication. Golden Gate also supports DDL replication. DDL means when you alter, modify, drop table or columns. So how to do DDL replication? Golden Gate supports that. Then monitoring the lag. So during the training, we also cover performance tuning of Golden Gate. How to troubleshoot Golden Gate issues? We discuss about that. Then we discuss about Golden Gate checkpoint. So guys, remember one thing: there are few terminologies which you may find common between database and Golden Gate. So at the database level, like data pump and checkpoint are there. Same way in Golden Gate as well, we have Golden Gate checkpoint and Golden Gate data pump. Remember, these are Golden Gate terminologies. So, and they're different what they are in database. So until and unless specified, whenever we are using these terms during the training, it means we are talking about Oracle Golden Gate. They don't have any relation to the database until and unless I mention. Okay. Then security is very important. So Goldengate deals with the data. So how to configure security in Oracle Goldengate environment? What are different parameters? What are parameter files and how to comprehend existing parameter files? We discussed during the training. Then we discuss about log dump utility of reading the trail files. Performance tuning of Goldengate, parallel Replicat, heartbeat table, uh, matrix server, Goldengate self-describing trail files. So these are the few topics which I have listed, but we cover a lot more than that as well. Like troubleshooting, performance tuning, these are covered in detail and with real-time scenarios as well. So let me tell you, because you are attending this training. So this training, when you attend, it is completely practical training. We'll be doing or implementing the things practically. And this training is industry standard. So when you compare like this course which you are attending, like my course, and the Oracle University course as well, both of them are, there is a whole lot of difference among the two. The reason being, like, Oracle University course is majorly theoretical and it is more focused towards selling the product. However, this course is more focused towards like practical and what is industry standard. So there is a lot of difference among them, and you will be learning a lot more. Okay, so let us start with the day one training session. So in today's session, we are going to discuss about introduction to Oracle Goldengate, overview of Oracle Goldengate, different types of architectures available in Oracle Goldengate. Then what is Oracle Goldengate Veridata? So one thing is, I'm mentioning this is classic architecture training. So what is classic architecture? What do we mean by it? We'll be discussing. Then different types of extracts and replicates involved. So many people have this question that with the introduction of microservices, does integrated no longer exist? So you will get the answer. Then Golden Gate 21C introduction. Then what is then how to see, from where to see Golden Gate certification matrix, how to download Golden Gate binaries. And at the end, we'll be discussing regarding setting up the virtual box and the training guidelines. Okay, so let us start the session now. And guys, if you have any question, all the questions will be answered for you. Okay, if you have, I'll give you chance to ask the question, but if you have any urgent question, let me complete, and you can post your questions in the chat window. All your question will be answered. None of your question will remain unanswered. So any question if you have, you can always put it in the chat window. Okay, so let us start the session now. So before we commence regarding Oracle Goldengate, let us discuss about Oracle database architecture. So remember one thing, Goldengate is a product which is integrated with Oracle database, right? So Goldengate works with Oracle database. Goldengate requires a database. I should not say Oracle database. So Goldengate is a product which works with heterogeneous databases as well. So it it's not only work with Oracle, it works with non-Oracle databases like SQL Server, MySQL, DB2, Postgres, etc. So Goldengate has to be integrated with database. Now the thing is, before we proceed, we need to understand the concept of what is the source of Oracle Goldengate, right? So let us see. So Oracle database architecture. So Oracle database architecture, when we talk about, it looks like this. So Oracle database architecture is divided into two parts: instance and Oracle database files. Right? Now, instance is again divided into two parts: memory components and background processes. So, your memory components include library cache, data dictionary cache, database buffer cache, Java pool, redo log buffer, large pool, to name a few. Then you have different background processes like PMON, SMON. So, this is also called as SGA. This part is also called as SGA, where your memory components reside. So, and your background processes involve pmon, smon, database writer, log writer, check, checkpoint, and others, right? Then you have got Oracle database files where your actual work happens. So under the Oracle database, you have got data file. So when you do select star from a table, when you do say, for example, select star from employee, okay. So from where do you get this data from? You get this data from the data files. So the data is actually stored inside the data files. Okay. So when you do select star from DEPT11, from where do you get that data from? You get those data from Oracle database data files. So this is where your actual data resides. This is where your actual data resides. Okay. Now control files. Then you have control files. So what are the control files? So control files are the metadata. They contain metadata information. Metadata means data about data. So these are the most critical files in Oracle Goldengate. Oh, sorry, in Oracle database. So if you lose your control file, you will face issues. Then you have redo log files. So redo log files are the files which contains the changes happening into the database. So whatever changes, whether it is DML or DDL, it contains those changes. Okay. Now, these redo log files are limited. The size and number is limited. Say, for example, if you have defined 25 or 50 MB of redo and 3 redo log files you have defined. So total 150 MB of redo will be there, right? So where you have to take backup of so your redo log files because your data will continuously change into the database. So your redo log files will get full. So to ensure that your redo log files are backed up properly. So you have to take the backup of. So internally it happens automatically. So these redo log files backup is taken into the archive log file. So data from these redo log file get flushed out and they get stored into the archive log files of the database. So these are the archives. These archive log files resides on the operating system and they consume your operating system memory or operating system disk. Okay, so your redo log files are the files which contains the change data. So uh, whether it is DML or DDL transactions, your redo log files are your archive log files are stored on the disk. So basically what happens is, let me tell you now, whatever changes you make to the database. So first of all, when you do say, for example, so guys, right now what I'm discussing in Oracle database architecture is whatever is required for Goldengate. Oracle database architecture in itself is so vast, it will take us 6 to 7 hours to complete. But since this training is about Goldengate, so we are going to concentrate what is required for Oracle Goldengate. Okay. So what happens is, say for example, you do select star from DEPT11. So what happens is data from data files get, or when you do update, say for example, you're doing update DEPT11 set location equal to XYZ, where employee number equal to 10. So what will happen? That data will get returned into the database buffer cache. Okay. So from data files, it will come into the database buffer cache. Now database buffer cache, what happens is so this is whenever a buffer gets changed, it is called as a dirty buffer. So internally it is called as a dirty buffer. So once the buffer becomes dirty, basically dirty buffer means the data has been changed, right? So what happens is the copy of that dirty buffer gets returned into the redo log buffer, and data from database buffer cache gets returned into the database. Oh, sorry, data from database buffer cache gets returned to the data files using DBWR process, database writer process. Okay, now what happens is from redo log buffer, these changes gets written into the redo log file with help of log writer process. So basically what is happening, whatever data you have changed, one copy is getting returned into your redo log buffer and subsequently into your redo log. Okay, and one copy of course gets returned into the data file, the actual files where the data resides. Okay, so I again repeat, a dirty buffer gets returned into the database buffer cache. So dirty buffer means the changed data. So when you do insert, update, delete, it gets returned into a database buffer cache. From database buffer cache, before it could be returned into the data file, a dirty buffer gets returned into your redo log. Remember, only the dirty buffer. So dirty buffer means any buffer which has been changed. Okay, so dirty buffer gets returned into the redo log buffer. Now this data from redo log buffer to redo log files gets returned with help of your log writer process. So these redo log files or backup of redo log files, which are archive log files. So first the data gets returned into redo log files and then the archives gets generated. So once the data gets returned into this redo log file and it gets full, data gets flushed out to the operating system into your archive log files. So the purpose of your redo log files is to ensure that whatever changes are made to the database, those changes are getting returned into the redo log file. Okay. Now, what is the whole purpose? Why do we need to, why are we getting this data two times? Why do we need, what is the whole purpose? What is the whole purpose of getting this data returned into two places? Like, first is the data file and second is this redo log file. What is the purpose? So the whole purpose is, so remember one thing, first of all, this is the actual data. Data files are the actual data where you see the where the data actually resides. Okay. Now the question here is, what is the whole purpose to get this data at two places? What is the whole purpose? So the whole purpose is to ensure the redo. This is required for the redo purpose. Say, for example, before the data could be returned from database buffer cache to data files, your system got crashed. Suppose I'll give you one example. You went to the bank, you deposited $10,000 in your account. Okay. Now, because you have deposited $10,000 in your account, and right now your balance is $5,000. So updated balance should be 15,000. You went to the teller, you deposited $10,000. Now, because you have deposited $10,000 in your account, the updated balance should be $15,000. But before it could be reflected, your database corrupted. Now, you went to the bank, you deposited the money, the teller told that it has been deposited, and you came back. But when you came back, you found out still the balance is showing as $5,000, right? Why? Because your system, so basically at the application side, application did the transaction, but before it could reach or it could be applied into the database, your system got crashed. So what is the purpose of these? So this is where, so ideally your balance should be 15,000. So being a customer, you will you will lose your temper and you will no one would want to lose $10,000, right? So in that case, what happens is when the database comes up, whatever transactions are left to be applied, they gets redo first. So they gets applied first. So what happens is this is called as recovery. So when you restart that, when the database comes back online, it applies the archive logs which have been generated. It applies it to the database, and then once those gets applied, your actual data will be reflected. So basically your updated balance, what it was showing as 5,000, now it will become 15,000. So this is the whole purpose of redo log files or your backup of redo log files, which are called as archive log file, which contains the changed data. Along with it, another advantage of it, the changed data is Oracle Goldengate or any change data capture tool uses these files as a source. So for Goldengate, these redo log files or archive log files works as a source for Oracle Goldengate. So they basically read the data from these files or receive the changes from these files, capture the changes and apply it to target database. Now let me tell you one thing. This will be very helpful for you. What happens is, being a DBA, what we think or what we have the understanding is these redo log files or your archive log files contains only committed transactions. That's not true. Remember, your redo log files or your archive log files contains committed as well as uncommitted transactions. So it's not like they are containing only committed transactions, they contain only uncommitted transactions. So data from redo log buffer to redo log file gets written with help of log writer process. It gets written with help of log writer process. Okay. So what happens is, with help of log writer, under these scenarios, data gets written. Whenever there is a commit, so when a commit happens on in the database, log writer process writes the data from redo log buffer to redo log file. Or when redo log buffer is 1/3 full. So say for example, you have defined redo log buffer as 100 MB, and when it is 33 MB full, 33.3 MB full, it will write. Or when there is 1 MB of. So if there is 1 MB of redo, it will write. So either of these conditions should fill, or every 3 seconds. So every 3 seconds it will write. Or before database writer process writes the data from database buffer cache to data file. So see, before database writer process can writes the data to the data file, your log writer process writes the data from from redo log buffer to redo. So this is the place where the change data comes. So remember one thing, your change data is any DML as well as DDL. So whenever you alter, modify, drop as well, whenever you execute or any DDL statement, okay, it gets returned into the redo logs or backup of redo logs, which are called as the archive logs. Okay, so remember one thing, I again repeat, these redo log files or archive log files, these are called as the transaction logs of Oracle database. So each database has its own transaction log. So like now you may say that, does SQL Server also have these redo log files or archive log files? So the thing is, in SQL Server or MySQL, these are called as transaction logs. The concept is same. They contain the change data. So any DDL or DML changes, whatever are happening, those gets written into the transaction logs of those databases. Okay, so once those gets written, so Oracle Goldengate or any change data capture tool retrieves or receives those changes or capture those changes, and then it applies it on the target database. Okay, so Goldengate, there are a lot of Goldengate competitors available in the market, if I have to talk about. So first of all, let me quickly give you the history of Goldengate. So basically, Goldengate was founded in 1995. Okay, now it was named after famous San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. Okay, and it was a standalone company when it was founded. In 2009, Oracle overtook it, and since then it is known as Oracle Goldengate. Okay, now Goldengate is a CDC tool. CDC stands for Change Data Capture Tool. So change data capture tool means whatever changes are happening on source database, those changes can be captured by Oracle Goldengate and then they get applied on the target database. So Goldengate is a CDC tool. CDC stands for Golden Change Data Capture. Okay. Now there are different competitors of Goldengate right now in the market. Like you must have heard about SharePlex, then Actinity is there as well, right? Then Goldengate itself is there. So these are the most common or famous, I should say, or well-known replication tools available in the market, right? So the Goldengate presence or Goldengate is used. You won't believe the market share of Goldengate is almost 95%. It's whopping 95%. Maybe more than that, but I'm just telling you a and 95% I'm saying it's a conservative figure. It's a conservative figure. So most of the places this Goldengate is used. Then you have got shareplex percentage and attenuity. And then, yes, one more product which is not widely used, but yes, I have seen some places where it is used is DMS. So that is also used, and the product is from Amazon. So that is also getting, or that is also being used. But again, the market share of Goldengate is 95% and remaining is divided among others. And you can add few more competitors along with it, like as mentioned in this slide, EMC Recover Point, IBM Mirror, Hitachi True Copy. HP has its own product which is known as Continuous Access, Data Core and Symphony. So all of them together, they make they have the market share of 5%, and out of these 5%, I would say 3% would be held by Shareplex and Atelier. 1% I would say DMS, and remaining 1% with others. So yes, there are competitors of Goldengate in the market, but still Goldengate is the best available solution. Goldengate scores above its competitors a lot. Okay. So Goldengate is still the best product in the market, and it is very wide. Now you may ask why. What is the reason? What is the reason for this big market share of Goldengate? So there are multiple reasons of it. There are technical reasons of it. There are professional reasons as well. And financial reasons are of course involved related to it. So we'll discuss about that as well. Okay, so Goldengate is a replication technology which is used and which is very widely used in Oracle Goldengate, which is very widely used as a data replication tool. DMS stands for Database Migration Service. Okay, so it is basically AWS DMS, which is what it is called as. I'm talking about DMS. Okay, now let me go back to this. Okay, so basically Goldengate scores above its competitors due to multiple reasons. So first of all, what is Goldengate? So Goldengate is a change data capture tool which captures the data changes which are happening on source database, and then it replicates on the target database. And another major thing you have to understand here is, and which will help you with, Goldengate is a product, sorry, in database, these redo log files or archive log files contains committed as well as uncommitted transactions. So as I told you, there is a misconception or misunderstanding which I have noticed among a lot of people is your redo log files or archive log files contains only committed transactions. That's not true. They contains committed as well as uncommitted transactions. So these contains whatever data changes are happening into source database, those data changes gets returned into these files. And whatever, so for Goldengate or any change data capture tool, so whenever we talk about any change data capture tool, those changes gets for Goldengate, these are the source. So if the changes are not returned into these files, they are redo log files or subsequently to archive log, they cannot, Goldengate won't be able to capture. So for Goldengate to capture, the changes should be returned into your transaction. Okay. So now I mentioned that Goldengate market share is a lot bigger than its competitors like SharePlex, Attunity, or AWS, DMS, or any other product which is mentioned over here. What is the reason for it? Let us see. So there are couple of reasons, financial reasons as well as technical reasons as well. Okay. So with Goldengate, let me tell you the financial reason for it, and then I'll come to the technical reason. So the financial reason is, you must have heard lot of organization. What they do is they sign end user license agreement with Oracle. They signed end user license agreement. So let me tell you, Goldengate is a product which is which is costly product, right? It is not free. Okay. One more thing before I proceed with this. Many people also consider DataGuard as a competitor of Goldengate, right? Many of you have this question. DataGuard as a competitor of Golden. No, Goldengate is not a competitor of DataGuard. I did one webinar last week. In fact, the recording of that session is also available on my YouTube channel. You can go through it, comparison between Oracle Goldengate and DataGuard. But just to give you overview, like you can compare apple and orange. You can compare apple to apple or orange to orange, but you cannot compare apple and orange. Same thing applies to Goldengate and DataGuard. If Goldengate is apple, DataGuard is orange. I'm not putting one above the other, but the thing is you cannot compare both of them because the requirement, the role they fulfill is completely different. And one major thing to answer this is Goldengate is licensed product. It is organizations have to pay separately. However, DataGuard, physical standby, it comes free of cost. So you can understand why would anyone pay extra cost for something which could, if the Goldengate work could be done by the DataGuard. Organization would just opt for DataGuard, right? So just to give you a quick overview, DataGuard is a database level replication. However, Goldengate is an object level replication. Okay. Apart from this, with Goldengate, you can perform data filtration and transformation. You can have forward and backward compatibility. Your source and target both are in read and write, bidirectional supported in Goldengate. So there are a lot of advantages, and Goldengate could also be used. Goldengate along with Informatica and ODI is one of the best business intelligence tool available in the market. So Goldengate usage is pretty high, and Goldengate is very, like, it is a, what should I say? The importance of Goldengate lies much ahead of your replication. So it's not only a replication tool, it serves multiple things. So there is lot. So basically that's why I didn't include DataGuard as a replication solution, and that's why I also didn't include DataGuard as a competitor of Oracle. Because DataGuard can achieve, what Goldengate can achieve, DataGuard cannot. Or what DataGuard can do, there are some things that Goldengate cannot do as well. So DataGuard is block by block replication tool. So in fact, when you do alter system, alter database command as well, DataGuard can replicate. But with Goldengate, it cannot replicate your alter system or alter database command. So that's why I say Goldengate is an object level replication tool. DataGuard is a database level replication. Now regarding cost of the Goldengate license, please, it's a product. I can answer any technical question during this session. Okay. Now regarding costing, so the product is owned by Oracle. So I cannot answer what is the cost, but I would suggest contact your Oracle account manager and they should be better answer regarding this. Okay. Now, what I was discussing prior to this was Golden Gate is a product which is very widely used. Right. Now, what is the whole purpose of why Golden Gate is very widely used in terms of its competitors? So, there are two reasons for it. Why Golden Gate is widely used or why the market share of Golden Gate is pretty high. I'll tell you the reason. First of all, it's a Oracle product. And Oracle database is very common database. Another reason, let me tell you, financial reason of it is many organizations sign EULA, end user license agreement. What happens is when they sign end user license agreement, they are free to use Oracle Golden Gate in any number of environments. So they can use Oracle Golden Gate based on, of course, based on the like terms and conditions. They can use Oracle Golden Gate in any number of environment, right? So because of that, because they can use Oracle Golden Gate in any number of environment, so they use Oracle Golden Gate. And because they use, because the see the requirement which Oracle Golden Gate can fulfill, the value addition which Oracle Golden Gate can add to an organization is pretty immense. So they use Golden Gate in any number of environment. Like I'll give you some example, like big telecom companies, big banks, they use Oracle Golden Gate because they serve, Oracle Golden Gate serves them well. It helps them in business intelligence. Like I'll give you one scenario, one example of this. One example of this Oracle Golden Gate business intelligence. So I was working with Vodafone India in 2014. I'm talking about. It was one client for me. Now India is a big country. It has 32 states or provinces, right? At that time, it was 26. Okay. Now 32 states plus union territories, right? If I'm not wrong. Okay. So at that time, when I was working with them, at that time, they had the requirement. So what they did is their database is one. Okay. So that database, basically what it did was it basically replicated the data to it basically inserted the data into one database, Vodafone India. Okay. So whether you are from New Delhi, whether you are from Mumbai, whether you are from Tamil Nadu, or whether you are from Uttar Pradesh, any state you are into, the data replication will happen to only one database, which is Vodafone India. Right. Now with that, they weren't able to find like what their requirement was. They wanted to find which states or which provinces are there where they have the maximum presence and where they need to concentrate on more. Like which are the worst performing states for them. So what they did, they asked me, they gave the requirement basically that they want to build the database separately for New Delhi, for Mumbai, for Tamil Nadu customer, for Uttar Pradesh. So what I did was basically the application would be connected to this Vodafone India. Okay. So say for example, you are in New Delhi. You went to, you bought a new connection of Vodafone. Okay. So your name is, say for example, XYZ. Okay. So XYZ went to Vodafone India and he went to a Vodafone store bought a new connection, and his number is activated. So what will happen? The application will do the transaction and his details will go or will be inserted into Vodafone India database. Okay. Now, in using this database, now what I will do is I'll set up Oracle Goldengate. Using Oracle Goldengate, I'll build multiple databases like Vodafone New Delhi. Then I built other database like Vodafone Uttar Pradesh. Then I built another database, Vodafone Tamil Nadu. So at that time, there were 29 states at that time. So I built 29 databases for it. So what I did, I set up Oracle Goldengate among the two. Source database is Vodafone India and target databases are 29 databases and plus 3 union territories. I don't recall exactly how many numbers were there at that time, but based on whatever numbers were there, yes, I did accordingly. Okay. Now, once the data was, so say for example, you did the transaction using Vodafone India, the entry will be inserted into Vodafone India. Now using Goldengate, what will happen is it will it will be inserted into Vodafone New Delhi. So the customer in New Delhi will have the data available in Vodafone New Delhi. Now say for example, someone else went to Uttar Pradesh. He resides in Uttar Pradesh. His data will be inserted into Vodafone Uttar Pradesh. So the application will do this transaction in Vodafone India. But using Oracle Goldengate, the entry will be made to the multiple different databases. Now, what was the whole purpose of it was performing the business intelligence. So what they did was using this, they were able to find that this is the best performing state. So in India, for those who are out of like who are not from India, states are equivalent to provinces. So we call province in North America and in India we call it state. Okay. So this was best performing state for them, right? And the worst performing state was Tamil Nadu. For example, I'm just giving you an example. So what they were doing is they were doing the business intelligence on it, and they wanted to find like what kind of strategy they are following, whether it is marketing, whether it is services, whether it is pricing, which is making the customers of New Delhi to reach more customers than Vodafone Tamil Nadu. It could be the competitors. Uh, it could be due to competitors presence as well. So maybe the competitor over there in Tamil Nadu is providing the customers with more attractive offer. Maybe pricing is more, maybe network is good. So it can be any reason, but the whole purpose was they wanted to find which is the most productive state for them and least productive state, and they wanted to find their performance in each state. That way they were able to find, and then later on, like say for example, they found out that Vodafone Tamil Nadu was the worst performing state. So they did more marketing over there. They reduced the pricing to attract more customer at that. So that way they can use Goldengate a lot. So I'm just giving you one scenario for it. Okay. Goldengate usage is a lot. So so what happens is, so I was talking about why organizations opt for Goldengate instead of other application technologies is the financial reason is they sign end user license agreement with Oracle. And when they sign end user license agreement, they are free to use Oracle Goldengate in any number of environments. So when they are free to use Oracle Goldengate in any number of environment, so what they can do is they can then use Goldengate in their environment, and after that they so based on the terms and condition, they can use Goldengate for multiple projects. Like AT&T as well, it is using Goldengate in all the projects. Like this is lot of organizations don't buy Goldengate licenses just because it is costly, but lot of organizations buy Goldengate licenses because what they do is they sign end user license agreement with Oracle and they do it. Apart from that, nowadays Goldengate is also being used for zero downtime upgradation and migration. You must have heard, right? So Goldengate is a costly product, yes. So what organizations do is they sign end user license agreement with Oracle and sorry. So what they do is basically, so this end user license agreement was different. Now I'm talking about zero downtime upgradation and migration. So what happens is lot of organizations now, this cloud boom is happening, right? They are moving to cloud or they are upgrading their databases. So what they do is, I'll give you one example for it. I worked with one of the big telecom company of UK. Okay. Now what happened at that time was their database size, which they had to migrate, they were at 11G. I'm talking about 2014-15. So their database size was 14, oh, sorry, 40 GB. It wasn't a big database, but the thing was that database was serving as a source database for multiple other databases. So basically, what happened was their database size was 40 GB, and they didn't use Oracle Goldengate at that. Okay. Because they didn't use Oracle Goldengate, it wasn't zero downtime. So they had to request for downtime. And as a subsequent reason, the downstream databases also had to take the downtime. Okay. Now they requested for 1 hour downtime. In that time, customers weren't able to do any transactions, like they were unable to pay any bill, or they were unable to, like their call logs were not recorded. There was a lot of issues at that time. Okay. Now because if they would have used Goldengate, so Goldengate is used for zero downtime upgradation and migration. So zero downtime means is you don't have there won't the application will be connected, there will be no downtime. So when the database upgradation happens or migration happens, ideally you have to take downtime. But when you use Oracle Goldengate, you can do it with zero downtime. That means your customer end user will have no effect of your upgradation or migration activity. But if downtime is there, the end user, the end consumer. So say for example, you are using Vodafone uh, connection. So if Vodafone database goes down, in that case, it will impact you. But when if Vodafone uses zero downtime strategy, in that case, means the end customer like us, we won't have any impact and we won't know anything about it, right? So what happened is in 2014, the big telecom company of UK, they decided to upgrade their database from 11G to 12C because it was 2015, so I believe it would have been 12C. Now the database size was 40 terabytes. It wasn't big, and we did all the and I was the I was the one who was consulting. I was the one who was doing this. Okay. Now what happened at that time was I suggested them to use Oracle Goldengate, but because of licensing, they denied. Okay. Now, at that time, what happened was there were some issues in the migration, upgradation of the database. They were not doing migration; they were just doing the upgradation. During the upgradation, what happened was there were few issues which were encountered during the upgradation. Okay, and that upgradation instead of 1 hour took 10 hours to complete. Okay, and they didn't have Goldengate. They didn't have any zero downtime. Hence, their their database was down for 10 hours. Hence, all the dependent databases were not getting the data. Hence, they also were down technically, right? You won't believe because they didn't perform zero downtime upgradation and migration. They had total loss of 1 million pounds, basically 10 lakh pounds, if I have to talk in Indian terminology. So 1 million pound loss they incur at that time. It was big loss. And after that, whatever upgradation they did, in fact, recently I did one cloud migration for them. And now they are using Oracle Goldengate. So Goldengate nowadays, what organizations do is they sign short-term license, they buy short-term license, like say for example, 6 months license or 3 months license. During that, they perform zero downtime upgradation and migration using Oracle Goldengate. So nowadays, a lot of cloud migrations are also going on, right? So what they want to do with the cloud migration is they want to ensure that zero downtime is happening so that they don't have to take any downtime in their environment. Okay. So that this is another reason Golden Gate is used for zero downtime upgradation and migration. So that's why this is getting very popular now. And apart from this, why Golden Gate is most popular is because of knowledge. So still there are not many people available in the market who have Golden Gate knowledge. But in terms of change data capture tool, because it's an Oracle product and most marketable product. Another thing I should say is it's most marketable product as well. And it works with heterogeneous database. It serves multiple requirements. However, in terms of another tools, there are some restrictions with the data type, with the database, and apart from that, expertise. There is almost zero expertise in these technologies. I mean, zero means only the organizations which are using it, they have the expertise. Outside, you won't find any resource or much resource having these knowledges. And third thing is the product is Oracle. So Oracle support is best when we compare to others. So that's why Golden Gate is widely used when I talk about financial or other reasons apart from technical. Okay. Now, if I have to talk about technical reasons, the technical reasons is, and another reason is, I'll tell you another reason why Golden Gate is most widely used. There are two terms which are called as RTO and RPO. RTO and RPO stands for recovery to time and recovery time object and recovery point object. So it means that, say for example, if any issue happens in case of your Golden Gate replication or change data capture replication, how quickly the recovery can happen, that is called as RTO. So RTO is within how much time a recovery can happen. And RPO means until what point the recovery can happen. Okay. So see, when we perform the recovery, so if in case of any issues, when the issues comes, the recovery should happen in minimal possible time and it should be complete recovery. Or if any loss is there, it should be minimal. So in both the cases, this Golden Gate scores above its competitors in terms of RTO and RPO. So recovery time object is done, so like Golden Gate can perform the recovery in quick time, as well as the point up to which it can perform the recovery is pretty accurate or pretty high in comparison to its comp. Okay. So this was one of the technical reasons. Apart from that, with Golden Gate, data is sent in real time with sub-second latency. So Golden Gate can replicate the data with within minimal time and it sends the data real time. So Golden Gate replicates the data real time with sub-second latency. That means it can replicate the data with minimal lag. So say for example, as soon as the data gets committed on source, it can be replicated on the target database within few seconds. So Golden Gate, remember, replicates only committed transactions. It doesn't replicate your uncommitted transactions. So with Golden Gate, data is sent in real time with sub-second latency. Golden Gate supports heterogeneous environment across different databases and hardware types. So Golden Gate not only supports Oracle database, it also supports non-Oracle database. And also it can work with heterogeneous platforms as well. So your source can be Windows, target can be Sun Solaris. Your source can be Linux, target can be any platform. Windows, Golden Gate can replicate the data without any issues. Same way your source database can be Oracle, target can be SQL Server, Golden Gate can replicate the data. Source can be MySQL, target can be DB2. Goldengate can replicate the data. Apart from that, your source and target databases can be, Goldengate is forward compatible as well as backward compatible as well. So forward compatible means is like your source database can be on 12C, target can be on 19C. Goldengate can replicate the data. Goldengate can replicate the data if your source is on 19C, target can be 12C. So Goldengate supports backward compatibility. Goldengate is backward compatible as well. Along with it, your Goldengate version on source can be higher, target can be lower, or vice versa. Goldengate can support it. So a source Goldengate version can be 12C, target can be 19C. Goldengate will replicate. The source is 21C, target is 11G. Goldengate can replicate the data. So these are the major advantages. So basically, Goldengate has little to no restriction. Like in fact, with 21C now, there were some data types which were not supported in Goldengate 21C. Then the support was included in 19C, and with 21C, most of the data types are supported with Oracle Goldengate. Okay. Now, Oracle Goldengate delivers high performance with very low impact. Now, the thing is, one thing which I always say, and in fact, if you ask Oracle, you will get the differing answer. But let me tell you honestly, Goldengate is a product which is external to database, right? So when a product is external to the database, you cannot say that it will have zero impact. The Oracle product promotes it as a zero impact, but I always say it's a low impact product. Any product which is connecting, which is external to the database and connecting with the database, okay, you cannot say it will have zero, right? It will have minimal impact on the database. It will have minimal impact on the database, but the performance or but the value it delivers, it is very high, and the impact is such that you won't notice at all. Okay, you won't notice the impact at all. So Goldengate delivers high performance with low impact. Goldengate has ability to move large volume of data very efficiently. So Goldengate can move your blob, clob as well without any issues. Okay, no single point of failure. It means that Goldengate troubleshooting is very easy, and there are multiple points involved, which makes like it which makes Goldengate error free as well. And failure chances of failure are pretty less in Oracle Goldengate if the configuration is correct and proper. Okay, so Goldengate is best in class leader in real-time data solution. It complements existing Oracle products. It is used for real-time data access for reporting, continuous availability for heterogeneous system. So I'll give you one example of Oracle Goldengate, like this real-time data access for reporting. So I gave you one example for business intelligence, right? Like Vodafone India example, which I was giving. Let me give you one example for reporting as well. I was working with State Bank of India in 2010s, 11s, I'm talking about. Okay. Now, I attribute my knowledge and learning of Goldengate to that project, to be very honest. Like SBI is very critical. Let me tell you, SBI, for those who don't know, SBI is State Bank of India, and it is one of the biggest bank in the world. Not in India, one of the biggest bank in the world. Okay. And it is very like critical database. Okay. Lot of people, in fact, any banking, uh, any bank is very critical account, even though it is small, because people hold their money in that, they have their data in it. So yeah, so it is very critical. So the thing is, in 2010, I was working with them. They came up with the problem to me that they like their database server was very slow. So for those, if you can relate to it, in 2010-11, you may not, but your parents, they did hold account in State Bank of India, and at that time they used to complain about SBI a lot. Like their service was very bad. Whenever you went to their branch, they used to tell that server is busy, they are not getting any response, and SBI was losing its customers. Right? Many of you can relate to it. I know. So the thing is, at that time, I'll tell you the real reason behind it. So what was happening? They came up with this problem. Now, I went and analyzed their system. I realized that there was a lot of load which was generating on their server. So what was happening was banking and telecom domains. These are the two domains which run lot of reporting jobs, which runs a lot of reporting jobs, and it consume it when it interferes with the OLTP transaction, online transaction, it hampers the performance, and it brings customer dissatisfaction because customers are unable to access the data. But ultimately, customer face dissatisfaction because application is unable to access the database, right? So what used to happen was that branch where you go, say for example, you are going to branch, and like our parents, they weren't used to net banking at that time, right? So they say for example, my father, he went to the bank to check the balance in his account. When he went to the teller, he would tell him that the server is not responding and he cannot get the answer. So what the teller is actually doing, teller is going to the application will send to request to the database, but because database performance is very slow, database is unable to retrieve the information back to the application, hence teller will give the information that server is not responding. But internally what was happening was the database wasn't responding at all, and the reason was there were reporting jobs running, hence OLTP transactions were affected. So when I analyzed this, I realized that they were replicating. They had the data guard server as well, which was, so their primary database was kept in Mumbai, and their data guard server, with which physical standby, was kept in Hyderabad, India. Okay. So what I asked them is, why don't they can, because they were using physical standby, they cannot do it. They cannot move their reporting jobs to physical standby, right? So, and in fact, another problem with data guard was at that time, which they were using, was they used to generate up to 500. They used to run some nightly jobs, and I have seen them generating 500 GB of archives in a day. And I have seen, due to this, their data guard used to lag behind 3 days as well. And you can consider, if say for example some disaster happens, some power failure happens in Mumbai, and data guard is 3 days behind, they have nowhere to go. So what I suggested to them was, let us set up Oracle Goldengate between your primary database, and we'll create another database which will be in read write mode, and then switch your reporting jobs from Mumbai to the secondary server of Goldengate, where data is getting replicated, because Goldengate will replicate the data in near real time. I won't say it is real time. Goldengate will replicate in near real time. So say for example, data replication will try to achieve the data lag of 30 seconds. So the reporting jobs can run on jobs which are 30 reporting jobs can run on data which is around 30 minutes lag, right? So this is what I suggested them. They tested some reports and they were okay to switch their jobs, reporting jobs. And when they switch their reporting jobs, you won't believe, only by switching their reporting jobs from primary to secondary, which is getting replicated using Goldengate, you won't believe the database performance improved, database response time improved considerably. And the customers which were dissatisfied earlier, like, this improved a lot. In fact, now if you go to their environment, their location, their branches. Now you won't receive those frequent responses like server is not responding or they are unable to get the response. Now everything is fine and things are in much better place. Okay, so this was one solution which was put using Oracle Goldengate. Apart from that, server replacement was also done for them, but this using Goldengate saved them. You won't believe, like it saved them 5 lakh rupees a day. Prior to this, prior to implementation, 5 lakh means 0.5 million. So half a million. So half a million rupees a day I'm talking about. So prior to introduction of Goldengate, they were losing because this data was lagging and customer dissatisfaction was there. So either the customers were moving away from SBI or transactions were not happening. So the estimated count was they were losing 0.5 million a day. With introduction of this solution, the loss went down almost 90%. So they are still using it. And that was one of the biggest learning for me. Like whatever we implemented, like it was a 2 years project. And after successful implementation of that project and when it went live, SBI again regained its position. So when these things were happening, when SBI was not responding properly, when there were issues, the private banking boom happened at that time in India. And now still it's there, but SBI has also gained its presence now. And it is now, again, people are using it. So So the thing is, you can use Goldengate, the real-time data, you can access it for reporting on target. You can use it for business intelligence. Zero downtime upgradation and migration for Oracle database and application. So Goldengate is used for multiple things. The capability of Goldengate includes a lot in comparison to when we talk about other products. Okay, so all top banks, all telecommunication provider. You name a telecommunication provider, big telecommunication provider, they are using Goldengate. All top commercial banks, in fact, in India or North America, when we talk about, you name a bank, they are using it. Like State Bank of India, HDFC, ICICI, in India, they are using it. When I talk about RBS, Royal Bank of Scotland, Bank of America, CIBC, Scotia, they are using Goldengate. Same way, when I talk about top telecom communication provider like Vodafone or AT&T or Sprint, all telecommunication, British Telecom, they all are using Oracle Goldengate. Airtel. So everyone is using Oracle Goldengate now. So Goldengate presence is not only in banks or telecommunication domain, they are being used by financial data services, food and drug store like Shoppers Drug Mart. They are using Goldengate. And ATM networks. So initially when Goldengate was launched, it was launched like in 1995, it was launched for the ATM databases. Subsequently, the support was extended to multiple other databases. Okay. So Goldengate is one of the best CDC tool which is available in the market and it is widely used. So Goldengate is used for high availability. So high availability means, say for example, you're replicating data from Boston, your primary server is kept in Boston and secondary server is kept in Dallas. So you're replicating data from Boston to Dallas. So application is connected to Boston. Suddenly there is a power failure in Boston. So what happens is the application right now which is connected to Boston, it will quickly switch over to your Dallas so that databases are highly available and your application can continue without any concern. Goldengate is used for zero downtime upgradation and migration. Then Goldengate is also used for business intelligence purpose. So Goldengate usage is a lot in different environments. Okay. So Goldengate supports capture and replication to multiple databases and to different OSN platforms. How can you check which platforms it supports, which databases it supports? You can check it from certification matrix. So these are the few ones which are listed, but it doesn't mean it is only limited to this. There are much more than that. So Goldengate supports different databases like Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL, Teradata, Ingress, Enscribe database. So Goldengate was initially, I was talking about ATM databases, right? So ATM databases are on Enscribe. So Goldengate was initially developed for this Enscribe database. But now the performance of Goldengate is like Goldengate is now used in multiple fields. Same way, different platforms are supported like Windows, Linux, and other platforms like HP, different flavors, IBM. So one thing is this sheet is like, this doesn't mean Goldengate only support these. It supports much more than that. Now you may ask Ashish whether it supports this database or this platform. At the end of this session, you will be able to answer this on your own. So the whole purpose of this training is to make you self-supported. So upon completion of this training, the whole purpose is to ensure that you should be able to set up Goldengate on your own in your environment. You should be able to answer any question related to Goldengate in your environment. So this is what we'll be doing during this training. Okay. So now let us discuss about architectural overview of Oracle Goldengate. So what is the architecture of Goldengate and how it works? Let us discuss about that. So now prior to this, when we started this training, we discussed about this training is about classic architecture. So now we will be discussing about different architectures of Oracle Goldengate and what is classic architecture and what is any other architecture. So there are two types of architectures available in Goldengate. One is classic architecture and second is microservices. So before I proceed, let me tell you. So basically, Goldengate was acquired by Oracle in 2009, and since then it is known as Oracle Goldengate. Now from 2009 to 2017, there was only one way to configure Goldengate, and that was through command prompt GGSCI. So until 2017, this method was called as Oracle Goldengate. In 2017, Oracle renamed it to Oracle Goldengate Classic Architecture. So Oracle Goldengate Classic Architecture is GGSCI based architecture which allows you to set up, manage, troubleshoot, configure Goldengate through GGSCI. GGSCI stands for Goldengate Software Command Line Interface. Goldengate stands for Goldengate Software Command Line Interface. So you can configure Goldengate from GGSCI. Okay. Now Goldengate, so until 2017, it was called as Oracle Goldengate. In 2017, Oracle renamed it to Oracle Goldengate Classic Architecture. So Classic Architecture allows you to set up, manage, troubleshoot, configure Goldengate through GGSCI. GGSCI is command prompt, completely command prompt. Okay. And in 2017, from Goldengate version 12.3. So from 2017 August, they launched a new architecture of Goldengate, which is called as Microservices Architecture. So Oracle Goldengate Microservices is REST API service-based architecture, which one of the feature is GUI. Okay. So this is a new architecture of Goldengate. So now you have two types of architectures. One is Oracle Goldengate Classic Architecture and second is Oracle Goldengate Microservices Architecture. So Classic Architecture allows you to set up, manage, troubleshoot, configure Goldengate through GGSCI. Microservices allows you to do it through GUI as well. And it allows for better integration with cloud application as well. Okay. Now, Classic Architecture is available for both Oracle as well as non-Oracle databases since beginning. So since the time Oracle Goldengate Classic Architecture has been launched, it is available for both Oracle as well as non-Oracle databases. However, microservices architecture until Goldengate Microservices 19C, it was available only for Oracle databases. That means you cannot use it for any non-Oracle database. If you are using Oracle Goldengate Microservices 19C. But from Goldengate 21C onwards, microservices support has been has been included for 5 databases as well, apart from Oracle: DB2, MySQL, MS SQL, micro Postgres, and Big Data. These are the 5 databases for which it has been included. So MS SQL stands for Microsoft SQL Server. Okay. So 21C is the Oracle Goldengate Microservices 21C. The support has been extended to these 5 databases as well, apart from Oracle database. Okay. So I again repeat, Oracle Goldengate Classic Architecture is command prompt based architecture, which allows you to set up, manage, troubleshoot, configure Goldengate through GGSCI. And since beginning, it is available for Oracle as well as non-Oracle database. Oracle Goldengate Microservices Architecture was launched in August 2017 from Goldengate version 12.3. It is REST API based architecture which allows you to set up, manage, troubleshoot, configure Goldengate through GUI as well. Okay. Now, until 19C, Goldengate Microservices was available only for Oracle database. So if, say, for example, you want to set up a Goldengate replication from Oracle to MySQL, then you can only use Classic until 19C. But if you use Goldengate 21C, you can either use Classic or Microservices architecture. Because from 21C, support of microservices has been increased to, or it has been included for these 5 databases. Okay. So now the thing is, which is the most common architecture which is being used nowadays? So still, if you go out into the market, 80 to 85, the presence of Goldengate Classic Architecture is 80 to 85%. So if you are going out into the market for any interview or any job, the probability is you may still find classic architecture there. Okay. You may still find classic architecture because still the presence is high for these, for classic architecture. Microservices presence as of today is only 15 to 20%. But Oracle is promoting microservices a lot now. And by end of 2025, the vision is to have 40 to 50% of implementations on microservices architecture. Okay. So I should say one thing. Classic architecture is present of Goldengate, but microservices is future of Oracle Goldengate. Why? Let me tell you another thing. Until Goldengate version 12.2, only classic architecture was there. From Goldengate version 12.3 to 21C, both classic and microservices coexist. So it's up to you. You can either set up classic architecture or you can set up microservices architecture as per your requirement. And from 12.3 to 21C. But from 23 AI onwards, post 21C, that is from 23 AI onwards, only microservices architecture is there. So classic architecture is no longer be there post 21C. Even though it is the most widely used product still, but 21C is the last version where classic architecture is available. Okay. So classic architecture post 21C, no new version will be launched. So 23 AI, the version of 23 AI which has been launched, it is for microservices architecture. Okay. So from Goldengate version 12.3 to 21C, the binaries of classic and microservices are different. You will see when we download it. So you can choose what type of architecture you want to choose. It's completely up to you. So another question which people ask me is, if you are using, so this classic architecture of microservices, you can use it in cloud, on-prem, anywhere you can use. So it's not like You can only use it in uh, on-prem or cloud. You can use it in at any place. Okay. Now, now another question which is being put by people here is, which is very good question. Now, should you directly start learning microservices? Will that be okay? To answer this, I say is it, you can directly learn microservices. There is no issue. But being a mentor, I need to give you correct advice. So what I tell them is, or my suggestion to you is, learn classic architecture first, then learn microservices. I give one analogy for it. Like I implement it personally on me as well. Like when I started learning, okay, when I started working on computers, I directly worked on Windows, that is GUI, right? But people before me who were there, my seniors, they were working on the command prompt. So DOS. So they internally had better knowledge how things were working, how data flow was, how the flow was happening. So same thing I apply here as well. When you learn classic architecture, you are in better control of things. You can manage things better. Microservices is like when, just like in Windows, when we click internally, we are not aware what is happening. So that's why I say that learn classic architecture first and then learn microservices. You will be better placed. So classic architecture is basically process based architecture in which process runs. Microservices is REST API service based architecture. So various services runs in microservices, which ensures that your application works in Oracle Goldengate environment. Okay. So 2021C is the last version where classic architecture is available. Okay. Okay. So there are two types of architecture, classic and microservices. So from 21C, classic architecture is going to be deprecated. Now there is one more product in Goldengate family, which is called as Veridata. So Veridata is another product. Veridata, as the name suggests, it verifies the data. So Veridata is another product in Goldengate family, which is used to find the data discrepancies between two objects, and it can repair those discrepancies as well. So say for example, on source, you have 10,000 records in a table. So say for example, on source, you have got 10,000 records in a table. On target, you have got 9,000 records. So what Veridata can do for you is it can identify the discrepant records and it can repair those discrepancies as well for you. So Veridata basically does column by column check for you. So say for example, you want to compare department table to department table. So you have got department table on source and department table on target. Now using Goldengate, you are replicating the data. There is some historical uh, gap. Okay. Now there are 10,000 records on source. On target, there are 9,000 records. Now you want to verify whether the two tables are in sync or not. So what you can do is you can run the Veridata job. Okay. Once you run the Veridata job, it will identify that these 1,000 rows are out of sync. So what Veridata will do is it will verify which rows are out of sync. It will do the column by column check, and then it will repair those discrepancies as well. That's the major advantage. Okay. Nowadays, Veridata is getting very popular due to these cloud migrations going on. So organizations want to confirm whether their data uh, is in sync or not upon migration. So that's why Veridata is getting very popular. Okay. So Veridata is a product which is used to verify the data. So Oracle Goldengate family as a whole, if I have to compare, it contains three things: classic architecture, microservices, and Veridata. So when you go out for any interview, anything related to job support, any question in Oracle Goldengate Veridata environment, will come from these three things only: classic architecture and or microservices and or Veridata. None of the question in Oracle Goldengate environment will go out of these three. Okay, so any question in Oracle Goldengate environment will come out of these three things: classic architecture, microservices, and Veridata. In fact, if you are looking to be Goldengate certified, so Goldengate certification contains questions from these three things: classic architecture, microservices, and Veridata. Okay, so now the next question is if so many people now have or ask me this question: with the introduction of microservices, does integrated no longer exist? Do you have the same question? If yes, type in the chat window. So my question is, with the introduction of microservices, introduction no longer exists? So, okay, for those who don't know what is integrated, don't worry. Okay, so don't know. That's good, you don't know. But for those who know, so yes, I'm getting the response yes as well, that integrated no longer exists. Okay, some of them are saying it exists. Yes. Okay, so let me answer it. So remember, guys, there are only two types of architectures in Golden Gate: classic architecture and microservices architecture. There is no integrated architecture. So since beginning itself, there has been no architecture which is called as integrated. Okay. There are only two types of architecture: classic and microservices. When Golden Gate, when no type of architecture was there, it was so basically the initial architecture was renamed as classic architecture. So classic here refers to traditional architecture. Now there are different types of extracts and replicates. So what Golden Gate does is, basically, you will understand it in the next slide as well. So I told you Golden Gate is a CDC tool, right? So what it does is, it basically extracts the data from source and replicates the data to the target. So it extracts the data from source and replicates it to target. Now, which process extracts the data? It's the Golden Gate extract process. Which process replicates the data? It's the Golden Gate replicate. Okay. So extract process extracts the data from source. Replicate process replicates it to the target database with help of Golden Gate replicate. Okay. So now let us discuss about different types of extracts and replicates. So there are two types of extracts in Oracle Golden. Okay. So initially when Golden Gate was launched, there was only one extract. Okay. Then from Golden Gate version 11.2.04 onwards and database version 11.2.03, Oracle launched a new type of extract which is called as integrated extract. And they renamed the existing type of extract to classic extract. So basically, why this confusion comes is the existing architecture which was there, it was renamed to classic architecture. Okay. So classic means traditional. Same way, when there was only one extract, it was called as extract. When there was only one replicate, it was called as replicate. But when integrated extract was launched, the existing extract was renamed to classic extract. Same way, when integrated replicate was launched, the existing replicate was renamed to non-integrated or classic replicate. So that's why this confusion comes. So there are two types of extracts: integrated and classic. So so classic extract is available since beginning, and it is also available for non-Oracle databases. Integrated extract was launched in 11.2.04 Golden Gate and database version 11.2.03. Okay. And integrated extract is the latest type of extract. It is most it is performance wise, it is the best extract. So people ask me like what type of extract you should be using or what type of Replicat you should be using. So the answer to this question is support use the latest supported one. So if integrated is the latest one in this case, and if it is supported, use integrated. And let me tell you, if you are using multi-tenant architecture, so integrated extract is only supported for Oracle databases. It is not supported for non-Oracle databases. Another thing is this: integrated extract is available only for Oracle databases as well. Okay. Now there are two types of extract: classic and integrated extract. So multi-tenant databases, when you're using PDB, CDB concept, which we'll be using in this training, it supports only integrated extract. It doesn't support your classic extract. Okay. Now, what are different types of replicats? So different types of replicats are non-integrated or classic replicat. Then you have, when initially only one type of replicat was there, it was called as replicat. Then Goldengate renamed it to non-integrated or classic replicat. Then they launched integrated Replicat. So integrated Replicat was launched from Goldengate version 12.1 and database version 12.3. Okay. Then they launched from Goldengate version 12.2. They launched coordinated Replicat. So coordinated Replicat is basically make running multiple threads of classic Replicat. And then from Goldengate version 12.3 onwards, parallel Replicat was introduced. So now parallel Replicat is available for Oracle as well as some non-Oracle databases as well, like SQL Server. Okay. So parallel Replicat was launched in Goldengate version 12.3. Okay. So now there are two types of parallel. So there are two types of parallel Replicat. So the initial type of Replicat which is mentioned here, non-integrated and integrated. Okay, when you run them in parallel mode, so there are two types of parallel Replicat which runs parallel non-integrated Replicat and parallel integrated Replicat. So parallel non-integrated Replicat is introduced in database version 12.1 and Goldengate version 12.3. So if you have database version, Oracle database version as 12.1 and Goldengate version as 12.3, you can use parallel non-integrated Replicat. For using parallel integrated Replicat, the minimum database version has to be 12.2 and Goldengate version has to be 12.3. So during this training session, we'll be covering about different types of extracts, like we'll be setting up these extracts, we'll be setting up these replicats as well. So your questions will be answered subsequently. How they works internally, they works in the same way. So they works in the same way like they work for other databases as well. So these are the two types of extracts and these four types of replicats. So most common use type of replicats are integrated or parallel replicats. To be very honest, this coordinated replicat was introduced in between in Oracle Goldengate, but it wasn't used that much. So now either they use either parallel replicat is implemented or integrated replicat, or if they are not supported, then classic replicat is widely implemented. Now when you implement classic architecture, so under classic architecture you have got different types of extract, like you can create integrated extract or classic extract. Then you can create class in non-integrated replicat or integrated replicat or coordinated replicat or parallel replicat. Same way, when you're configuring your microservices architecture, under microservices you can configure different types of extract, or these are different types of replicats which you can configure as well as per your requirement. So the answer to the question is, with introduction of classic architecture, does integrated no longer exist? Right. So the answer to this question is, there is no integrated architecture. There are only two architectures, classic and microservices. Under classic architecture, you have got integrated extract or classic extract. Same way, under microservices architecture, you have these two types of extract, integrated and classic. And then you have different types of replicats as well, and one of them is integrated replicat. So integrated is type of extract and or replicat. However, architecture are of two types, classic and microservices. Okay, so microservices is type of architecture in Oracle Gold. Okay, so now to continue this discussion, let us now discuss about architecture of Oracle Goldengate. So how Oracle Goldengate architecture works. So Oracle Goldengate architecture works like this. So you have a source database and you have a target database. So source database can be Oracle or any supported non-Oracle database. So your source can be Oracle or any non-supported Oracle database like DB2, MySQL, SQL Server, or any other database. Okay. Now each database has its own transaction logs. So in case of Oracle, these transaction logs are called as redo logs or backup of redo logs, which are called as archive logs. Okay. Now what happens is any change which is happening into the database, those changes gets returned into the transaction logs of the data. Right. Now those transaction logs contains committed as well as uncommitted transactions. So these transaction logs in case of Oracle are called as redo logs or backup of redo logs, which are called as archive logs. Right. So these transaction logs contains committed as well as uncommitted transactions. So so what happens is when you configure Goldengate, there is Goldengate capture process. Now this capture process is also called as extract process. So during the training, whenever we are using the term capture or extract, they are used interchangeably. Same way, apply or replicate, they are also used interchangeably. So you have got Goldengate extract or capture process, which receives the changes from the transaction logs by reading the transaction logs, and it captures only committed transactions. Okay, it captures only committed transactions. So as I mentioned, this is very important. Your transaction logs contains committed as well as uncommitted transactions. However, Goldengate captures only committed transactions. And once those transactions are captured, it writes them to the trail file on local machine, which are called as local trail files. It writes them to the trail files on local machine, which are called as local trail files. Once the transactions are returned into the local trail file, Goldengate data pump process reads the data out of your local trail, sends it over TCP/IP network, and writes it to remote trail on target. Now the thing is, the Goldengate extract process captures the data, writes to local trail. Now these local trail files are binary format files which resides on the operating system. They consume space on the operating system. The format of these trail files are same like your archive logs. Just like your archive log files are your binary format. Same way, these trail files which are generated, they are also binary format files. So extract process captures the data, writes to local trail. Once the data is returned into the local trail, the data pump process reads the data from local trail, sends it over TCP/IP network, and writes it to remote trail on target server. Once the data is available into remote trail, so these trail files residing on source machine, that is on source database system, are called as local trail. The trail file residing on the remote machine, that is on target system, are called as remote trail because they are remote to the source. So extract process captures committed transactions only, write them to the local trail file. Once the data becomes available into this local trail file, the data pump process reads the data from local trail, sends it over TCP/IP network, and writes them to the remote trail file on the target system. Once the data becomes available into the remote trail file, the Goldengate replicate or delivery process. So as I mentioned, during this training, capture and extract will be used interchangeably. Same way your delivery and replicate will be used interchangeably. So if I say capture, it means extract, or if I say extract, it means capture, or vice versa. Same way, if I say delivery, it means replicate, or if I say replicate, it means delivery, or vice versa. Okay. So the data pump process writes the data to this remote trail. And then once the data becomes available into this remote trail, the replicate process reads the data out of your remote trail and applies it to the target database. So I again repeat, guys, remember one thing. I'll tell you, when I started learning Oracle database, my teacher at that time told me that, and I really highly regard that teacher. I learned a lot from her. So when I started learning Oracle database, she told me one thing. She told me that if you have understood Oracle database architecture, you have learned 70% of Oracle database. And trust me, that's correct. But Oracle database architecture, when I learned it, I understood like it is so vast. And when we learn it, more complex it becomes, more new concept comes, right? But yes, she was correct. But the thing was, it wasn't that easy, and it is pretty complicated. Many concepts are involved in that. Same way, but I, I, but in Golden Gate, I say one thing. If you have understood this architecture, trust me, you have learned Oracle Golden Gate, 70% of Oracle Golden Gate you have learned. You can troubleshoot Golden Gate, you can set up Golden Gate, you can manage, maintain Golden Gate with this architecture. So whenever you have to troubleshoot any issue, refer to this architecture and then troubleshoot. Whenever you have to set up Golden Gate replication, do the setup according to this architecture. Whenever you have to manage, maintain Golden Gate, learn, understand this architecture, and you will be good with Golden Gate. And another thing is, Golden Gate architecture is not as complex as your database. Just like your your database architecture is very complex. Your Golden Gate architecture is pretty easy and pretty straightforward. Okay. So whatever I'm showing you right now, only those things are there in Golden Gate architecture. Apart from that, there is nothing extra. There is no complexity or any layer of complexity which will open later on. No, nothing like that. Okay, so this architecture is very important, and this is very important. If you have any other question in your mind, remove and forget that question for now. If you have that question, you can post in the chat window. You will get the answer of it. Don't worry. But if you have any question, forget that. Instead of that, focus on this architecture, because this architecture, what I'm discussing right now, is very important. Okay. Okay. So I again tell you. So Oracle Golden Gate architecture looks like this. You have a source database and you have a target database. Each database has its own transaction logs. In case of Oracle, these transaction logs are called as redo logs, or backup of redo logs, which are called as archive logs. Now, whatever changes you make to the database, those changes get logs into the transaction logs of the database. Now, once those changes are logged into the transaction logs, there is Golden Gate capture process, which captures the committed transactions. So your transaction logs contains committed as well as uncommitted data. However, Golden Gate capture only committed transactions, remember, and it captures the transaction in the order of commit. So, so the transaction which is getting committed first will be captured first. Transaction which is getting captured, which is committing next, will be captured next. Okay. So each database has its own transaction logs. Extract process captures the data. Extract process captures the committed transactions and writes it to the trail file on local machine, which are called as local trail. Now, these local trail file resides on your operating system. The trail files which are there, they resides on your operating system and they consume your operating system disk space. Now, extract process captures writes to the local trail. Once the data becomes available into the local trail file, the data pump process reads the data out of your local trail, sends it over TCP/IP network, and writes them to the remote trail file on target system. So source will have its own trail file, target will have its own trail file. Once the data becomes available into the local trail file, the Replicat process reads the data from local trail and writes it to the target database. Now, remember one thing. We say one thing that Golden Gate is real time, right? So, does data pump process transfers the trail file over the network or it writes the data from source trail to local trail? Because Golden Gate is real time. So, as soon as data gets returned into the local trail, the data gets transferred over TCP/IP network. It doesn't transfer the trail file, it transfers the data. So the data gets returned from local trail to remote. Okay. Another important thing is, as I told you, Golden Gate is platform independent. So your source can be on Windows and target can be on Linux as well. Golden Gate can replicate the data without any issue. Right? So how is that possible? Because Golden Gate, the format of the trail file is platform independent. So the way the format of the trail file will remain same whether it is getting generating on whether it is getting generated on Windows or Linux or something so that the format of trail file never changes. So this is why Golden Gate is platform independent. So when the extract process generates the local trail, the same trail can be sent to either your Windows or Sun SolarEdge, HP, or any other platform. The format of the trail file always remains same. Okay. Now these trail files. So what happens is this pump process reads the data from local trail, sends it over TCP/IP network, and writes it to remote trail on target. And then the Replicat process applies the data to the target database. So there are three processes involved in Oracle Goldengate replication environment. First is extract, second is data pump, and third is the Replicat process. So these are the three processes which are involved in Oracle Goldengate replication. Okay, so for Oracle Goldengate replication, these are the three processes involved: extract, pump, and replicate. Another thing to note here is each process in Goldengate has a source to read from and a target to write to. So the extract process source is source database and target is local trail. The pump process source is local trail. Target is remote trail. The replicate process source is remote trail. Target is target database. So each process has a source to read from and target to write to. Okay. So this is how your Oracle Goldengate replication or architecture works. There are only three processes involved. Along with there is a manager process. So all these uh, components like extract, pump, or trail file. These are the components. So to manage these components, on top of it, you also have a Goldengate manager process, which we'll be discussing about when we install Golden. Okay. So these are the components which are involved in Oracle Goldengate Classic Architecture. Now, Goldengate also supports your bidirectional replication. So bidirectional means is both the sides will be live. So both the sides in bidirectional will be live. So in bidirectional, what happens is you have source. So in bidirectional, both the sides will act as source, both the sides will act as target. So bidirectional, what will happen is your application will be connected to site one as well as application will be connected to site two. So whatever transactions are happening on site one, they will be replicated using Goldengate to site two. Same way, whatever transactions are happening on site two, they should be replicated to site one using Oracle Goldengate. So what happens is you configure Goldengate extract process, which reads the data from site2 database. So you will configure a separate process over here. It writes the data to local trail on site2. Then pump on site2 will read the data from local trail, send it over TCP/IP network, and writes it to remote trail on site. Once the data is available on remote trail on site1, the Replicat process will read the data from remote trail and apply it to site1 database. So bidirectional is nothing but two-way unidirectional. Just like you set up Oracle Goldengate replication from site1 to site2, right? In the same way, you are setting up your bidirectional setup configuration from site2 to site. Okay, so whatever transactions are happening on site1, they are replicating to site2. Whatever transactions are happening on site2, they are replicating to site1 database. There is a question which is bidirectional replication functionality is similar to functionality to two-node rack functionality? No, your in rack environment, like it is a multi-node cluster, but the transaction logs, archive logs, they are not different. Control files, they are common on all the nodes. However, these two are complete separate databases which rise in complete different regions as well. They have their own transaction logs, they have their own uh, OS. So your source, your one site OS can be on Linux, target site OS can be on Windows. So you cannot compare. Rack is complete different functionality. The functionality of Rack is just to ensure it's high available. Database is one. If one node goes down, so it's not like you have different databases running on all four nodes in Rack. You have one single databases. It's just that to ensure high availability, if one node goes down, your database continues to run on other node, right? So that's the whole functionality of Rack. However, the purpose of Goldengate is to ensure data replication among two different databases, which can have different names, which can have different schema names, different object names as well. You will learn, and they can be in different regions, completely different regions as well. But just ensure that they have the network connectivity so that the data pump can transfer the data from source to target. Okay. Okay, so the Goldengate architecture involves extract, pump, and replicate along with it trail file. So Goldengate supports your bidirectional replication as well. So I always say one thing, bidirectional replication is nothing but two-way unidirectional with some consideration. Now, what those considerations are, we'll be discussing that using Oracle. We'll be discussing those in the bidirectional session. So what are the use case? What are the example of bidirectional? Where do we use? We'll be covering subsequently those as well during the uh, bidirectional topic as well. So guys, so far we are just discussing the architecture. These are the introduction. So subsequently as the training session moves on, your questions related to latency, performance, setting up will be resolved. So guys, one thing let me tell you before I proceed next. I see few questions which are related to how to troubleshoot issues in Goldengate, how to resolve latency. Okay. I will answer it in a different way, right? If I have to ask you one question, when you like today, you are able to speak a language. Say, for example, you're able to speak Hindi, English, or any other language which you can speak, whatever is your native language. Did you start learning? Like, how did you how did you start to learn that? You first learn ABCD. When I talk about English language, how did you start learning English? You first learn ABCD. Then you started learning words. Then you started forming the sentences. And then you moved into grammar. Then you moved into vocabulary. And now you are able to speak English. Right? Same way, same thing applies to Goldengate. You cannot expect to troubleshoot the issue without understanding how Goldengate works. So it is imperative for you to understand it is imperative for you to go sequentially. It is imperative to go in a structured way so that you can learn troubleshooting, you can learn performance. So it is very important, first of all, to learn architecture, to learn the setup of Goldengate before you can learn troubleshooting. So troubleshooting Goldengate is very easy, let me tell you. But first of all, you need to understand what is the architecture of Goldengate, how you set up Goldengate. How do you create this extract? What is the source of this extract? How do you set up pump process? How do you set up these Replicat process? So all this is very important for you to learn before you can troubleshoot. Okay, so subsequently as the training session, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4 moves on. So upon completion of day 3 and day 4 session, you will have pretty good idea on Goldengate troubleshooting. And post like completion of this training, like after day 7, you will have complete in and out knowledge of. Okay, so we'll be moving in a structured way. And the way Goldengate works on and another thing is Goldengate functionality or Goldengate way of work doesn't changes whether you are working on Windows platform. In the same way it will work on Linux, in the same way it works for HPUX. The way Goldengate works for Oracle database, in the same way it will work for any non-Oracle database like SQL Server, MySQL, DB2. The way Goldengate works in on-prem, in the same way it works for cloud. The reason being Goldengate is a independent product of the database. It's not like it is inbuilt into the Oracle database. It is a product which is outside of the database. Though the product name is Oracle, the product is of Oracle. That's why it is called as Oracle Goldengate. It is not called as Oracle Database Goldengate, right? So that doesn't mean that. So that's why I'm saying it doesn't mean that the way Goldengate will work for Oracle database, it will work differently for SQL Server. Same type of concept what we are discussing applies to SQL Server database. Same type of concept when you are setting up Goldengate for MySQL. Same type of concept. Subsequently, as the session goes on, you will understand what is the difference when you set up Goldengate for SQL Server. Only difference is how these processes like extract and Replicat processes, they establishes connectivity with the database. That's the only place where it differs. Apart from that, everything else remains same. Okay, so all this understanding you will get as the session moves. Okay, so how Oracle database architecture works, I'm repeating this. Guys, this is very important for you to understand the architecture. That's why I'm repeating it again. So Oracle database architecture goes like this. You have a source database and a target database, whatever is supported. So you configure Goldengate extract process, which captures the committed transactions from your transaction logs. Once it captures the committed transactions, it writes them to the trail file on local machine, which are called as local trail file. Once the data becomes available into the local trail, the data pump process sends the data over TCP/IP network and writes it to remote trail on target database. Okay. Once the data is available into remote trail file, the Replicat process reads the data out of your remote trail and applies it to target database. So there are three processes involved: extract, pump, and Replicat process. Same way, bidirectional will work in the same way, but in the opposite direction. So the extract process will be connect will be establishing connection with the target with the site2 database, which will write data to local trail. Once the data is available into local trail, the data pump process will write the data to remote trail, and then the Replicat process on site1 will apply the data to the site1 database. Okay, so this is how your Goldengate architecture looks like. Now, I was talking about there are two types of extracts: integrated extract and classic extract. Now, what is the difference between? Okay, so let me tell you. So, in classic extract, what happens is the classic extract establishes connectivity with the source database directly. So, the classic extract establishes connectivity with the source database directly. Okay. In case of integrated extract, what happens is whatever changes are happening onto the source database, those changes are getting returned into the transaction logs of the database. Now, the copy of those changes gets returned into the log miner database. Okay, so there is a log miner database where the copy of those changes gets returned in. Okay, so the transactions will be returned into the transaction logs, but the copy of those changes will be returned into the log miner database. And then log miner will pass on the changes to the extract process. So this is called as integrated extract. So in comparison to classic extract, what was happening is the classic extract was connecting to the source database, and it is reading the transaction logs in sequential manner and then capture the changes and writes to the local trail file. However, in case of integrated capture, what happens is the copy of the changes. So in integrated extract, what happens is the whatever changes are happening in the source database, those changes will be returned into the transaction logs of the database. Now, copy of those changes will be returned into log miner database. So log miner, so you don't have to create anything. Internally, it happens as soon as you register your extract process to the database. Log miner database builds up. It's the same thing like when you have to mine your archive log files, right? How do you mine? You mine it using log miner. So this is the same thing. So the copy of those changes gets returned into the log miner database. Then log miner passes on the changes which are required by the extract processes in form of LCRs. LCR stands for logical change records. So extract process receives the changes, whatever changes are required by the extract process, and then extract process writes those changes to the local trail file. Once those changes are returned into the local trail file, then data pump process reads the local trail file and sends it over TCP/IP network. So log miner process here. So how integrated extract works is the integrated extract receives the changes from the log miner database. So log miner is basically copy of your transaction logs, copy of your redo logs and archive logs. So which is internal to the database. And then log miner passes on the changes to the extract process. This is called as LCR. LCR. LCR stands for logical change records. So LCR stands for logical change records. So the log miner passes on the changes in form of LCR, then extract process captures it and writes it to local trail. So the difference between the classic and integrated extract is the classic extract directly connects to the source database. It reads the transaction log sequentially, capture those changes and writes it to the local trail file. However, in case of integrated extract, what happens is the log miner does this task. Log miner passes on the changes to the extract. Okay. But let me tell you one thing. Okay. The performance of integrated capture is almost 5 times faster than your classic extract. So your integrated extract performance is 5 times better than your classic extract. My question to you is, as a layman, when we look at this architecture right now, and when we look at this classic extract or integrated extract, logically, if we think the classic extract directly connects to the database, where there is no layer in between. However, in case of integrated extract, there is one more layer of log miner in between. So how come the performance of integrated extract be faster than classic extract or better than classic extract? So, classic extract cannot read from redo log. No, classic extract. So Mayuresh is saying, he has a question that classic extract can only read from redo logs, it cannot read from archive logs. No. Classic extract can read from redo as well as archives. So my question is, how can the performance of integrated extract be faster than the classic extract, even though in classic extract there is no layer in between? However, in integrated extract, there is a layer of log miner in between. So how come the performance of classic extract is faster than integrated? How come the performance of integrated is better than classic? So the answer, Sridhar is saying, answer is only change records passes to extract to capture. Okay. Shekhar is saying integrated uses parallelism. Sadasiva is saying it is native to Oracle database. That's why faster. Due to log miner, only change records. Okay. So the answer to this question is, see, what happens in integrated extract is, how does classic extract works? So I'll do one example for you. Okay, what I'll do is, so what happens is, say for example, in your transaction logs, that is redo logs or archive logs, you did some transaction. So you have got, so in the extract process, you have two tables data to capture, department and employee table. Now what you did in your transaction logs contains all the data from sys, system, or any other schema. So you did 1,000 transactions from sys, then there are 100,000 transactions from system. Then there is one transaction for department table. Then after that, again, there are 10,000 transactions for sys, 10,000 transactions for system. After that, there is one transaction for employee. Then again, there are 100,000 transactions for system. Then again, one transaction for department. Then again, 10,000 transactions for system. Then again, one transaction for employee. So Goldengate has to capture this one transaction for department. It has to capture this one transaction of employee. It has to capture this one transaction of department and one transaction of employee. So, so what is happening in classic extract is, the classic extract is external to the database and it establishes connectivity with the transaction with the database, and then it reads transaction in sequential manner. So what it has to do is, it has to read these 1,000 sys transactions first. Then it will read these 100,000 system transactions. After that, it will find this one transaction and will capture it. Again, after that, it will have to read these system transactions, even though it won't capture, because it reads the transaction logs in sequential manner, and in between it can find the transactions, right? Then again, it capture this transaction and this will go on. So this will take time because classic extract is with it external to the database. Hence, this takes time, right? However, in integrated extract, what happens is, same task, what is being done by the external extract process, same task is done by the log miner. But because log miner is internal to the database, hence it is very fast and it is able to provide the extract process with whatever transactions which are required by the extract process. Okay, so here the extract process will receive those transactions only which are required by the extract process, and log miner will do. So the performance of log miner is almost 5 times faster than classic extract. I have done this test myself as well. Like when I did test, and I'm talking about 2017, when it was Goldengate version 12.2. In that version itself, number of transactions which are captured in a minute by classic extract were 5,200. Same test, same configuration, everything same. Number of transactions in the same amount of time which were captured by the integrated extract were 25,673 transactions. So Oracle also says so, that it is 5 times faster. But when I did the test myself, I found myself as well that integrated extract is almost 5 times faster than the classic extract. Okay, so the performance wise integrated extract is much faster, and the question is which one you should be using. You should be using your integrated extract if it. And internally, basically, if you see, this is the integrated extract architecture. This is how your integrated extract works. So internally, there are 4 processes. Now, again, one thing is so this is just for your knowledge and information, what I'm telling you. So this log miner database. So when you set up integrated extract, it's not like you have to create a log miner database separate. You don't have to do anything. It's the normal Goldengate configuration you will be doing. Once you register it, register your extract process with the database, automatically your log miner build will happen. So you will see this when we set up Oracle Goldengate. Okay. So now there are 4 internally. This is again just for your information, like theoretical information. This is for you. So internally, what happens is there are 4 processes involved in integrated extract. These 4 processes are reader. Reader reads the data. Preparer prepares the data. Builder builds the data, and then capture process captures the data and sends the data to the integrated extract. So this is how internally. So internally you saw here log miner process. Log miner passes on the changes to the extract process in form of an LCR. So internally what happens is these are the 4 processes which are responsible for sending the data to the integrated extract. Reader process reads the data. Prepare process prepares the data, builder process builds the data, and then capture process captures and sends it to integrated extract. So when you configure your integrated extract and it establishes the connectivity with the database, you will see that 4 processes related to integrated extract are consumed at the database level. Okay, so there are 2 types of extracts: integrated extract and classic extract. So classic extract is now like, if you are using database version 21c, classic extract is deprecated in case of Oracle database. So you cannot use classic extract if your Oracle database version is 21c. Second thing is, if you are using multi-tenant database architecture like pluggable container, so you cannot use you cannot use classic extract again. You can only use integrated extract when you are using multi-tenant architecture. So you will learn and understand more on this when we move forward. Okay, so this is about your introduction and architecture of Oracle Goldengate. So in the next session, because of time constraint now, so I wanted to show you about Goldengate certification matrix. But what we'll do, we'll cover that in the next session. So the next session, what we'll do the next session next week. Same timing it will be. So in the next session, what we'll discuss is we'll discuss about download of Oracle Goldengate, Oracle Goldengate certification matrix, and we'll also discuss about installation requirements of Oracle Goldengate. So we'll be discussing about how much CPU, how much what are the hardware requirements related to Goldengate, how can you install, what are the server requirements, basically we'll be discussing. Okay, and then we'll discuss about installation, how to install Goldengate, and what is the difference of Goldengate installation between source and target. Sorry, what is the difference of Goldengate installation between 19c and 21c? Different options to install Goldengate. So we'll also discuss about Goldengate Hub. And then if time permits, we'll discuss about prerequisites to set up Oracle as well. Okay. So the steps, so with each session, I'll be giving you steps to perform. So the step to perform prior to this session is you have to complete the lab set. Steps to do prior to next session is complete the lab setup. And the next session we'll do next week. And the link to join will be shared over the app. So the link to share, like, how can you join the next session? You can download the app and over the WhatsApp group, it has been shared with you. Individually, if you are enrolled, it has been shared with you. So once you enroll, you can get those details as well. Okay. And if I have to quickly recap what we have discussed in today's session is we discussed about introduction to Oracle Goldengate. So guys, I'll be taking all the questions as well now after this recap. So we'll be discussing about introduction to Oracle Goldengate. We discussed about introduction to Oracle Goldengate architecture. So we discussed about history of Goldengate. Then we discussed about there are two types of architectures in Goldengate, classic and microservices. And we also discussed about Veridata. What is Oracle Goldengate Veridata? Now, one thing guys is my, as per my discussion with Oracle related to licensing part, I'm telling you, and anything which, if there is any contradictory sentence between Oracle and me, say for example, tomorrow Oracle says that, no, this is a contradictory statement, what Ashish you said, related to license I'm talking about, because the product is owned by Oracle. That's fine. So if there is any contradiction, in that case, Oracle statement will take precedence or will hold value than mine. So you have to consider Oracle sentence, whatever Oracle says. Okay. So as per my discussion of what I have understood from Oracle, there is no separate license for Oracle Goldengate Veridata or Oracle. Oh, sorry, Oracle Goldengate Microservices or Oracle Goldengate Classic Architecture. Oracle Goldengate Veridata is a separate license, but if you have Goldengate license, you can use either Classic or Microservice because the license cost is calculated based on CPU code, database code. Okay. So if you are using, if you have Goldengate license, you can either use classic architecture or you can use microservices architecture. So with a single license, you can work with either classic or microservices architecture. So you don't require, as per my discussion with Oracle, you don't require a separate license to work on classic or microservices because the Goldengate cost, license cost is calculated based on database, number of database codes you are using. But Veridata is a separate license product and you have to buy separate license. Okay. Now, why Goldengate? Goldengate is near real-time data replication tool which supports heterogeneous and homogeneous platforms and databases as well. It is high performance with low impact tool and it can move large volume of data very efficiently. Now, there are two types of extract process, classic and integrated. Classics is there since beginning and integrated extract is a latest type of extract which was introduced in Goldengate version 11.2.04. And these are the different types of replicats which are non-integrated or classic, integrated replicate, coordinated replicate, parallel integrated replicate, and parallel non-integrated replicate. Then we discussed about Oracle Goldengate architecture, how data flows is. All the processes in Oracle Goldengate works independently from each other. However, they depend on each other for reading data. So extract process captures the data, writes to local trail. Pump process reads the data from local trail and writes it to remote trail. And then replicate process applies it to target database. So as a practice for today's session, what you have to do, you have to set up the lab. Okay. And guys, this is 1 day a week session. So session is conducted every Saturday and Sunday is reserved for practice. So we don't do session on Sunday because otherwise what I notice is it becomes too much information bombardment and there is a lot of knowledge and understanding to it. So it is very important for you to practice whatever we are implementing. That's why. So yes, if you have question now, you can ask. So there are a few questions which I think I already answered. I think you should be able to unmute yourself as well. Like Sadasiv, you should be able to unmute. I don't think there is any mute This is completely interactive session, so you can always unmute yourself. Okay, so Aman has a question. How is historical data lying in a table captured that is already present before CDC through Golden Gate is set up? So Aman has a question like Golden Gate, like say for example, we are setting up Golden Gate replication from today. What about historical data? So that process of data, loading data is called as initial load. So we'll be doing initial load during the session, and you can then perform the initial load. So initial load is either done by export, import, or any other database utility, or you can do it via Golden Gate as well. So we'll be discussing about that. Okay. Yeah, Gupteshwari, you have a question. So you can raise your hand as well. So Gupteshwari, yeah, you can ask your question.
Yeah, Ashish. So basically, moreover, what I understood, so the Golden Gate extract the data from redo log file as well as archive log file, right?
Right.
Okay. It only contain the committed data. It only capture the committed data, right?
Exactly.
Okay. And second question, Ashish, this trail file under the classic extract, this slide only.
Uh-huh.
See, this trail file sends the data to the local trail file, sends the data through pump process to remote trail file, or it send the copy of the data.
It sends the data. So whatever data is returned, so this data will remain here. So data is returned. So basically you can consider whatever data is present here, that data is transferred or copied from source to the remote trail. So from local trail to remote trail, that data is copied.
Okay, so the size of the trail file always will be same in that case then?
You mean source and target, or which
No,
trail
no, no.
file?
I'm talking about okay, only source.
Yeah.
The
So it
local
will.
trail file.
So if I have to
It will be
understand,
suppose one
so
suppose one 2 GB trail file got generated. Okay. So it sends the data to remote trail file. So in that case, always data is getting vacated from the local trail file. So the size of the trail file always will be, throughout the processes, throughout the Golden Gate processes is running, the trail file size will be saved. If
exactly.
my
Yes.
it is my understanding.
Yes, yes. See, very good question. And Gupteshwari, let me tell you, this is the first time this question has been asked. And I should appreciate this question because your understanding, what you are mentioning, is absolutely correct. So let me tell you, guys, very good question. So Gupteshwari has a question if someone has not understood. Her question is like when this data is returned, when the data transfer happens, so basically, is it a copy of the data, or it transfers the data and it empties the trail file? So the thing is, data copy happens. So whatever data is in local trail, it gets copied into remote trail. Now the question comes, why do we need this data? Is like you can purge this data based on your business requirement, because you need to keep the data for some time. Like say for example, as a practice, general practice, we keep these trail files for 7 days. So we store this data for 7 days for any troubleshooting or any other thing if we want to do with this data. Okay. Okay. So
Yeah, Ashish, so in that case, we can generate multiple trail file, right?
yes, multiple trails will be generated. So I would suggest, like when we do the setup, so answer to your question is yes, your multiple trails will be created, and this question will be better answered when we do the setup practically, when we'll be doing the setup. So in session number 3, this question will be better answered. Like practically, this question will be answered for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Nishchal, you have a question?
Yes, Ashish. Yeah, as we discussed in today's session, Oracle Golden Gate support heterogeneous environment and across different databases. So in the upcoming session, do we practice any cross-platform replication or just Oracle to Oracle and Linux platform?
So during the training, what we do is we cover Oracle to Oracle and the virtual boxes. So the training is basically, so the virtual boxes which I shared with you, which we'll be using. I haven't shown this because of like we didn't move to the practical part today. So these are the virtual
Yeah.
boxes which are already shared with you as well, like to people who are enrolled. So basically, what happens is these virtual boxes are Linux and Oracle databases. Now, as I told
Okay.
you, the best part with Goldengate is like if even if your platform is Sun Solaris, even if your
Mhm.
platform is like Windows, it doesn't differ at all. The way Goldengate works is same. It's just the binaries which you are downloading from Oracle website. They are different platform wise. So if your binaries are correct, so in the next session you will learn that as well, which binary to download, how to download, what to consider, what are the installation requirement, right? So you will get
Okay.
all those answers to that in the next session. Okay,
Okay.
but
Because
the
in
way Goldengate works is same whether it is working in any platform, whether it is working for Oracle or whether it is working for SQL Server. So you will get all that understanding. I'll provide you all those things with you.
yeah. Okay. Because in a real world scenario, because we don't get Oracle to Oracle and Linux to Linux, we can get different platforms. So that's what I ask.
See, the whole purpose of this training is to ensure that you become self-sufficient to support any environment, any platform. So in any issues, whatever you are getting. So this
Okay.
training, like even if I show you Oracle to Oracle, Linux to Linux, you will be able to support any environment in Goldengate. You will be able to troubleshoot. So what I do in this training is I will provide you the strategy. I will ensure that you get the strategy for managing, maintaining, setting up Goldengate as well as troubleshooting any issues. Like say, for example, for troubleshooting issues as well. When we
Mhm.
discuss, there are 100,000, 10,000 of issues in Goldengate, which we cannot discuss in this. Right. Like today,
Yeah.
if I
Right.
discuss one type of issue, it might be possible your environment is getting different type of issue. The
Correct.
real thing is what I want you or what I'll be doing in this training is I'll ensure that you get I'll ensure that the strategy to troubleshoot any issue you should be
Okay.
performing that. So when you follow the troubleshooting strategy, when you follow the setting up strategy, you will be able to support any environment, any place. So the whole purpose is of this training is to ensure you should be able to set up any environment, any platform, any database, whether it is on-prem or cloud. You should be able to do that. And the best part with Goldengate is it supports us in all those things. Like it's not me who will be doing it, it's the Goldengate
Yeah.
product which is designed in such a way that it works in the same way that the way it works for Oracle in the same way it works for non-Oracle. The way it works for Windows, the same way it works for Linux. The way it works for cloud in the same way it works for on-prem. So there is no difference. It's just that how it establishes the connectivity with Oracle or SQL Server database, it might differ. Apart from that,
Okay.
95% of things remain same. So in case of Oracle, we use like say for example TNS entry to connect. In case of
Um,
non-Oracle, it will use
JDBC or some different thing.
ODBC connection. So we'll be
ODBC
discussing.
connection.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Ashish. Yeah.
Yes, Saurabh, you can ask your question. Saurabh. Okay. Next is Shekhar, I think. Okay. Shekhar, let me. Okay. You can ask your question.
Hi Ashish, thanks for the session, and it is very good and nice and informative. It's very useful, basically. So, just I would like to know one thing is this class is weekly Saturday one class and Sunday practical, correct?
Exactly. Sunday you will be doing practical, and if any case there are any issues, you can post your question into the WhatsApp group. You can email me, call me, WhatsApp me.
Okay, sure, no problem. And this will be 7 weeks course, correct?
Yes, 7 weeks.
Oh, okay, no problem. And one question, Ashish, this I can hear this multi-master replication. Is this same as bidirectional or different?
So multi-master is like with Goldengate. So again, we haven't discussed the concepts of Goldengate. The thing is, with Goldengate, you can have multiple environments as well. Like say, for example, you have got site A, site B, and then you have got site C. So what you can do is you can replicate the data from site A to site B to site C. So site A to site B bidirectional, site A to site C bidirectional, site C to site B bidirectional. So all the sites, you can have more than 2, 3, 4, 5 sites and data replication is happening.
Okay.
So internally, if you think, logically, if you think, what will happen? A to B, B to A will be bidirectional. A to C, C to A will be bidirectional. But the thing is, there will be multiple sites which will be involved.
Oh, okay. Might be B to C, C to B as well, bidirectional, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay, that is called a multi-master, basically.
Multi-master where multiple sites are available.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.